What's X and everybody? This is JD.
And Coach Charles.
And you are listening to the
BullsEye
Podcast. Brought to you by Alan Hattie Hollingsworth's Christian Business Ministries.
That's right, the BullsEye Podcast. You may ask, what is this BullsEye they talking about? The BullsEye is a teaching tool that is used that covers over 80 biblical principles in the Hollingsworth Boss Masters program, with trusting God as the center of the bullseye. Now, today's episode, we're pulling from the BullsEye, episode 6, the change formula. What's the change formula, JD?
Well, I'm going to introduce one here. It's called current behavior times intolerable pain equals change.
Okay. All right, I'll grab the next one. Current behavior times fear of loss equals resistance to change.
I'm going to take that third one. I'm going to take the third one. Current behavior times vision equals change.
Okay. How about an example?
Let's get some examples. You want to start off with current behavior times intolerable pain?
Okay.
Yeah, why don't you give them that?
Okay, so current behavior times intolerable pain equals change. Now, you can go through life and run up against intolerable pain, just bills not getting paid, fear losing your job, or car accidents, or just somebody in a high school setting or juvenile setting. A bully comes to mind. A bully will make you change. People get out what we say, people get out the way for crazy, right?
Yes, sir.
But intolerable pain, when you can no longer sit in that one situation that you're in, you're going to be forced to change. And the key word there is forced to change. Go for it.
Well, I like that. Now I'm going to talk about current behavior times fear of loss.
Okay.
Resistance to change. Now, when you really think about it, why are you just stuck? You're stuck in a relationship that may be abusive. You may be stuck at a job that you've been on for 10, 15, 20 years, but you know you could be doing better. You may be stuck on this same business idea or ministry idea that you've been having for the same 10, 15, 20, 30 years. You haven't moved. But why? Because there is a fear of loss. If I get out of that relationship, will I be able to find another? If I get out of that relationship, will they find somebody better than me? It's a fear of loss. Your fear is losing them. If I leave my job, oh my God, my kind of
safety net.
That's perfect word. That safety net. Will I lose my safety net? What happens if my vision doesn't come to pass? Will I lose that safety net? It's hard to find jobs nowadays. What am I going to lose? And that's what you're afraid of. If you want to start your business or ministry, oh Lord, will people actually buy from me? Will they talk about me? Will they come to my ministry, or am I just going to be a ministry, a house of one? And that's barely myself. What am I afraid of? I'm afraid of looking like a fool.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that if people don't like it, they're going to talk about me. My family's going to talk about me. So-called friends are going to talk about me. My frenemies and enemies are going to talk about me and say, see, we told you. You couldn't do it. You couldn't do it because you too black, you too white, you too short, you too tall.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. You're a woman, you're a man, you know, your toenails is ugly, something that I knew they were going to say that I was wrong. So I'm afraid of losing my respect. I'm afraid of losing my friendships. I'm afraid of just losing this controllable, really uncontrollable feeling of being liked. I'm afraid of, Lord, they're not going to like me. And I just have this need to be liked. And we understand wanting to be liked. That's human nature. We get it. But you have this fear of losing something. So that's your current behavior. Current behavior meaning what you're doing right now, your behavior right now, times the fear of loss, what you're fearing losing, equals your resistance. Your resistance to change. It's hard for you to change. And that's what's happening. Was the last point. God sees your current behavior. He's telling you to do something, but because you fear losing what's tangible or what's on this earth or relationships on this earth, equals your resistance, Jonah, to change for God, for changing the kingdom. It's your resistance.
Ooh.
So now when you resist God, what are you doing? You're in sin. So that's what that resistance to change does. It keeps you in the place of sin, and it keeps you in that place called the comfort zone. My goodness gracious. But let's move on to where God wants us to be, which is current behavior times vision equals change. You have something for that, Coach Charles?
Yeah, because I'm looking at with the example that you gave of starting a ministry. You know, I used to hear brothers, I used to hear preachers talking about, yeah, if it's just one, I'll preach to him, But yeah, okay. But when it is just one, did you preach just as hard? Did you give that message? That's touching on that fear of loss or that intolerable pain. You see pastors giving up because they can't make that ministry grow. They can't get those members. They can't get and really they find out that you're in a rut, not because you're not hearing from God, but because you're not seeing God.
Seeing God.
You don't have proper sight of what God is calling for. So if you were a ministry of one, that means you would have a solid vision. It's like, oh yeah, I preach to one at a time. My vision is to preach to one at a time. And it's like the one person that you talk to, they went out and spoke to millions.
Wow. Wow.
Current behavior times vision, right?
Equals change. But see, here's the thing. You spoke something that was so clear. See, it's not your vision. It's not your family's vision. It's not the world's vision. It's God's vision in you. Yes. So he wants you to take your current behavior times vision, i.e. his vision in you, and let that equal your change. I bring up Abraham, well, at the time, Abram, he had a current behavior. He was all over with the Sumerian gods and all that and goddesses. But God gave him a vision during his current behavior, and he had to make a change. He had to leave his family. He had to leave Ur of the Chaldees, process that. Now, most people would have had a resistance to change because they would have what? Fear of losing my family, fear of losing my respect. Here's a big one: fear of losing the love or fear of angering the gods. That's what his folks were doing. They were over there worshiping these different gods. So can you imagine that some of we're so afraid to even say certain things because we don't want to what? Anger God. Now imagine him having several gods that he can imagine that he would be angering because the one true God spoke to him.
All right.
And so now he has to have a vision to leave. He has to have a vision to leave those other statue man-made gods and go and leave and follow the one and truly creator of the heavens and the earth. But he had a vision. Moses had a vision. And that equaled out to the change. He went from potentially worshiping, Horus and Set and Isis and all the different Egyptian gods and goddesses to go and follow the true God and come back and say, look here, Pharaoh, look here, player. Let me tell you something, man. I am that I am has spoken and said, you best free my people. Free them on up. I ain't playing either. I ain't doing it. So he had to have that vision to go into Egypt and get God's people out to make them free. It's a vision. But let's speak with that real quick about your vision. does God, and Coach Charles already said, are you really going to speak if it's a ministry? Are you going to just preach to the one and that one could preach to thousands? Or are you looking at outside what you can see versus inside the vision that he gave to thee? Boy, I just rhymed.
Okay. Let's bring this back home. Also, you sparked something. Are you gonna turn over to what's really our main call here, the B.O.S.S ministry? Mm-hmm. Are you gonna bless the next generation with that vision and show them how to get their own vision from God?
Right. Right.
You're gonna pour into the young people, into the youth that are coming up with a lack of leadership.
Yes.
And so it's all about sight. You know, so if you don't have proper sight of what God is speaking and vision, I'm all over the place with this today. You know, one of the 4 pillars is vision.
There you go.
One of our 4 pillars is vision, and that's the ability to have a vision, get sight from God's word. From reading, hearing, seeing God's word and having proper sight from that, not just seeing letters on the page, not just seeing Hebrew and Greek, not just seeing these different teaching tools, but when you read it, it speaks to you and speaks through you. That's vision.
That's vision. And you mentioned that we also talk about Deuteronomy 28 in the ministry. Hear it,
see it.
That's vision. So you can what? Do it.
When?
Now it's defined as 0 to 5 seconds. That's how long now is. N-O-W. Now it's been defined as 0 to 5 seconds. So when God gives you that vision, he wants you to see. Because you can't do what you can't. What's that, Coach Charles?
You can't do what you can't put your peepers on. You can't do what you can't see.
There it is. You can't
on the inside.
See. Right. That's important. You have to see this on the inside. So that vision comes from the inside. And so if God gives you a vision, whether it be your ministry, and here's the other thing too, when you mentioned ministry, are you spending time with God, ministry, business, anything? Are you spending time with God that he would give you his vision for your ministry? And I should take that back. His vision.
Fix it.
Yeah, I'm about to fix it right now. His vision for his ministry in you, or his vision for his business in you, because you're the tool that's going to make it happen. Some of you may be God did, he's supposed to, when he gave me a vision, I thought about a good old church and the 4 buildings, but I see all these other pastors with their 4 buildings. Well, great. Maybe God gave that to them. But how do you know God didn't have your ministry in the park? How do you know that God didn't have your ministry out downtown somewhere or in the roughest areas where somebody else, it would be a hardship? But for you, it's anointed, because when you come down into the hardship, you're changing lives because he sent you for his assignment there.
Yeah.
You don't think that was scary for Moses to go back into Egypt where he killed an Egyptian? I had to think about that. I said, well, I'll be shaking everywhere. Do you understand me? Everywhere. Yeah. But it was meant for Moses to go back down there. So how do you know what God has called you to do? You're so busy looking at the outside, getting a vision, that you haven't taken the time to really sit with God, where he will give you his vision for his ministry, his business in you that you're supposed to do, called being a me only. So that's what that's what I wanted to really say about that. And Coach Charles had what he said about that. So let's
get into this teaching.
Let's get into the teaching. Why not? And we're going to let Coach and Mrs. H really share with us about the Ch-ange formula.
Get your pens and papers out. Take notes.
That's a good idea. I think I will take some notes. Thank you for that, Coach Charles. I appreciate that.
When I go unconscious, I don't want to be what? When you hurt me, the first thing I want to do is pull the cover over my head and stay in bed because I want to hide. because it makes me feel. Adam and Eve ran when they sinned because it made them feel, from God, it made them feel uncomfortable. And so our battle with growth is that I've got to choose to be uncomfortable. So we're going to pick up our seats, pick up our bodies. And I want you to sit next to someone else you don't know. Let's start there. No. Well, just put it up front. Yeah, that really made her uncomfortable when I said that. All right. Now, question. Remember, we said this whole journey is about birthing the invisible to the physical. But you've got to want to take this journey. From bondage to freedom, the children of Israel murmured and complained about the conditions of Egypt. And they cried out for a deliverer, or someone that can help us get out of this bondage. God sent them Moses the first time, and they were not ready to go. Because when he came, he made it so that they became more uncomfortable. Problems had to become so terrible. Shania, did you give them the formula? Current behavior time. They would not leave their place of residence, a place of bondage, until it became intolerable. In other words, most of us will not leave relationships, we will not leave places of our lives until it becomes not just bad, but until it becomes intolerable. We wait until life becomes intolerable. And so our lives have been formed by intolerable conditions that have moved us. Intolerable things have caused you to move into different relationships. You didn't choose them, but it was the intolerable things that caused you to move. And so you settled in another place because where you were became what? Intolerable. So current behavior times intolerable pain equals change. But there's a way that we can change, Rob. Current behavior times vision equals change. Write that down. Current behavior times a vision. In other words, let us begin to plan for change by understanding that change is necessary for growth. And some places that you were and are, you need to leave because it is no longer valuable. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It's time to say, it was good knowing you, but it's time to what? Time to go. And most of us don't want to deal with, it's time to go. Children have to make that decision when they become 30 and still at home. It's time, parents have to make a decision, it's time to. And most people don't want to make the decision. Watch the yawn, watch the yawn, watch the yawn. Because I don't want to deal with the problem. And so our lives become broken because we won't make the decision. And so the next thing that we have learned in this journey of birthing, Jennifer, our vision, is that a leader, not only must they be prepared to suffer, but their suffering will come as an act of making a decision, making a choice. And most of us will not make because we are not prepared to suffer the change. And so we've got to get to a point that we're prepared to understand that is a natural process that suffering, the change, is a natural process. Some of our behavior we have tolerated far too long. It's time to say to that bad attitude, it's time to go. Some of our depression you held on too long. You got to speak to that child in you, it's time to go. Some of our life of mediocrity, you've been taught by the best teachers of success, Pastor Godot and others, and it's time for my failure habits to go. It's time for change. Are we there? And so we're going to begin to take a look at current behavior times intolerable pain will cause you to change, or current behavior times vision. God wants to speak to you a vision, and that's why we're saying we must wake up to that place of now. Rob, I want you to hear this place of now. Have you heard it before? No. Okay, come for a moment. Stand right there. We're going to do it quickly. May I have your pen for a minute? I need an eraser, but do you have? Okay, here, we'll take this pen. Now, I want us to begin to understand that most of us live in the past. Depression is defined as holding on to the past in the now. It was a condition of that you haven't let go of. When? Someone hurt you in the, they talked about you in the, you were a failure in the, and you bring it into your, God is a God of, so if you bring your past into the now, you crowd God out. The comfort zone wants to live on the conditions of your, I know it. I got it slam dunked. I've been here for 20 years. I don't even have to think about it to do it. But there's no passion. You could do it in your sleep. There's no passion. And God is saying, I've come to awake you. There's more in you. You have settled for so little, and I have called you to so much.
All right, family. What we're about to do is give you a play-by-play, because you can't do
what you can't see.
Coach does the take this now principle.
Take this now. You took it in the past. Most people know that. Let's move around a little bit. Most of our people know here that have become trained. Take it again. Rob, take it now.
Coach holds the pen out, and again, the man takes the pen.
You took it in the past. Now, my question that for those who have not seen it, did you see what we did? Okay. Now, why didn't you see? Why was I blocking? And were you a victim to my block? What could you have done if you wanted to see it? You could have, good for you. You could, but you didn't, because what? You didn't want to be what? You didn't want to be rude, which would have made you feel uncomfortable. Do you understand how we become lost in our jobs? We become lost and not know, all because we're trying to protect that place called what? Comfort. Mm-hmm. I want to stay in what? Balance. I want to be what? Left alone. Leave me alone. And most of our life, we want people to leave us alone. You couldn't get away from your parents soon enough so that you would be left alone. And now people leave you alone and you're slipping. No one helps you anymore. No one tells you when you have a goober on your nose anymore, because they don't want to what? Suffer your hurt feelings. And they leave you alone. We won't leave you alone. Take this. Now, before you reach for it, I said, take it now. Where did you have it before you reached for this pen?
All right, welcome back, everyone. I pray
Welcome
you
back.
all enjoyed that. I pray that you did. Coach Shaw, did you enjoy it?
I definitely did.
Yes, sir. Me too. Me too. So, my goodness gracious.
Me only.
Yeah, me only. There you go. There you go. I wanted to start off with just some of the things that I really learned when I was listening to Coach and Mrs. H. What I really learned from them. And one of the things I'd start off with is that a leader must be prepared to suffer. They must make a choice to suffer the change. This change is part of the process. Oh, my goodness gracious. So that's just one of my notes. What did you get, Coach Charles? You have any notes?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the first things that jumped out to me that Coach said was, you got to want to be on this journey.
Woo.
Now, we were in the vertical leaf setting when he said that, but for this teaching and what way he led into this teaching, it says, you got to want to be on this journey. You got to want to take this journey. You can't just give up, because you'll fall into one of those categories, because that would be your current behavior.
See, when you say that too, when you say you got to want to be on this journey, I also look at it that you're going to be on a journey. Now, whether it's going to be you having your vision, or whether you're going to have intolerable pain or fear and loss, that's going to be your choice. But you're going to be on one of those journeys, because as he said, some of us have been suffering too long. It's time to say to that old child in you, or I like to put in there, that old you, hey, it's time to go. You had to kick them out just like you would if your child getting 18, 19, 20 years old, still in the house. Hey, boop, it's time to go. You can't be here no more. You got to get out of that depression. Because that depression has been defined holding on to the past. In the now. That's what it's been defined as. Think about that, you all. If you are depressed, think about where your depression comes from. You ever notice it's not so much from the future, but it's your past that creeped up on you? It's holding on to that past in the now. Go ahead, Coach Charles.
Yeah, and continuing on with that, Jay, you know, when Coach mentioned holding on to the past in the now, and you said, and you showed that was crowding out God, that shows me, that takes me over to the current behavior times fear of loss equals resistance to change. And you mentioned something early on in the show that that fear of loss, you know, you're focused so much on losing something, you don't even realize that's idolatry. But you put that thing before God. And I'm looking at all of the now what trips me out is that I can have all three formulas at the same time overlapping each other. But it's just, oh, check this out. It's just whatever I give my attention to, that spirit's going to come live in me and manifest out of me as my destiny and circumstance.
You better talk that talk.
So playing that keyboard, playing that keyboard. Yeah, playing that keyboard. So if I'm living in intolerable pain, I mean, because you danced through the Bible and you did earlier, every suffering is part of it. That would be defined as intolerable pain, the suffering I go through, but I'm gonna suffer for what I love.
Okay.
That man, that fleshly man inside of me is like, oh, okay, I don't want to lose this. So that's that fear of loss, right on top of the intolerable pain.
Right.
And then God's vision steps in because he sees me in my hour of need and speaks to me. So now I can choose to give my attention to God's vision. Yeah. Because that's the center of the bullseye. And that vision will get louder and them other two will get quieter.
There you go. Because I'm focused on God's vision.
Oh, you said it. Focus.
I'm focused on God's vision. I'm conscious of God's vision. And just like Charles just said, how did I get conscious of his vision? Because whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My attention to. Oh, come on. Its spirit will come live in me and manifest out of me as my destiny and circumstance.
That's right.
That's what we have here, family.
Yeah, that I remember this. I remember this. Yeah, you
Uh-huh.
remember it. You remember it because if I was thinking of a high school setting, you know,
Right.
And explaining this formula, you know, further out, the change formula, everything has to change. Everything will change.
Yes.
So you're going to take your current behavior, you're going to run across something.
Right.
So if just take a high school student starting in the 9th grade, coming in through high school, or even an adult, but we're going to go with the high school student. If your current behavior is just getting up, going to school, and not applying yourself, there is going to be some intolerable pain is going to come towards the end of that high school career. You're not going to graduate.
Nope.
Or you're not even that first year. We're going to hold you back. You're not going to pass to the next. So that's going to be an intolerable pain when you watch all your classmates going forward.
Yes.
But then also within that, rock with me if you would, in that same change formula, vision. There were some students that had a vision of what they could do with the time that they were granted in that high school setting, or fast forward to the adults in that job setting. So you coming into a job, it's like, I'm not just gonna come and put a round peg in a square hole every day. I'm gonna figure out how to get promoted. I have a vision of owning this company. I have a vision of moving to the top of this company. So you're taking your time and you're maximizing it.
Yes.
But what Coach talked about, intolerable things will cause you to move.
Yeah.
So those intolerable things of life are going to come to you, especially if what's that old saying? A rolling stone gathers no moss. Right? I think that's saying that we always got to be moving. Right? Right. We always have to be addressing something new. I mean, you get up in the morning, if you're stuck in the past, if you're stuck in yesterday, you're gonna miss the sunrise of today.
That's right.
So
that's right.
you're gonna miss the joys of today.
Right. You're trying to stay asleep in the past.
Uh-oh. Don't sleep.
Don't sleep on them. Don't do it. Don't sleep on them. I feel you. Look, you know, when you say that too, you said constantly moving. And what Coach also talked about, God is a God of now.
Yes.
So when you bring your past into your now, you crowd God out. Because he's speaking to you now, not in the past. He's speaking to you now. So you crowd him out. You can't hear him. That's where that unforgiveness is a condition of the past that keeps you from hearing God's word now. So that is so important, you guys. We just want you to really know that and hear that, how vital everything is. And I know you all like, well, wait a minute. What happened? What happened to the man that was taking the pen? We don't know what happened. That's where the cliffhanger comes in. I want to ask you guys this. Where do you think the young man took the pen before he took it?
The pen.
So where do you think the young man took the pen before he took the pen?
Let us see your answer in the comment section of this podcast.
You all, this has been wonderful to be here with you. I am JD.
And this is your coach, Charles.
And we are reminding you to always aim for the center of the bullseye.